Tokyo, 1905. 2 million souls, steam and wood. Wooden houses from the Edo period stood beside brick factories. Smoke rose from chimneys. Trains rattled past temples. Former samurai operated machines they once would have destroyed. Japan had transformed in 50 years. The cost was measured in more than yen. July 1853. 4 black ships entered Edo Bay. American Commodore Matthew Perry commanded them. Paddle steamers, black smoke, 73 cannons. The Japanese had never seen ships move without sails. They called them kurofune, black ships, ships of evil appearance. Perry ignored orders to leave. He anchored near the capital. He demanded Japan open its ports. If refused, he would return with more ships. The Tokugawa shogunate had ruled for 250 years. They had kept Japan isolated. No foreigners allowed. No Japanese could leave. Christianity banned. Trade limited to a single Dutch post in Nagasaki. The shoguns believed isolation protected Japan. They watched China fall to British opium traders. They watched India become British property. They feared the same fate. But Perry's steam engines proved their wooden ships obsolete. His cannons outgunned their coastal forts. The shogunate had a choice: negotiate or fight a war they would lose. They negotiated. 2 ports opened to American ships. Japan's isolation ended. The treaty humiliated the shogunate. Their legitimacy rested on protecting Japan from foreign threats. They had failed. Discontent spread. Samurai clans in western Japan rebelled. They wanted the emperor restored to power. They wanted the shogunate destroyed. They wanted Japan strong enough to expel the foreigners. 1868, civil war broke out. The shogun's forces lost. Emperor Meiji took power. He was 15 years old. Real power belonged to a group of young samurai from lower ranks. They had one goal: modernize Japan before it became a colony. They studied Britain's industry, America's agriculture, Germany's military, France's legal system. They wanted to beat the West at its own game. The government moved fast. Within 8 years, they dismantled 700 years of samurai rule. Feudal domains became prefectures. Peasants could become soldiers. The samurai lost everything. First their lords, then their stipends, then their swords. March 1876. The Sword Abolishment Edict. Samurai could no longer carry swords in public. Only military and police could bear weapons. For 700 years, the sword had defined the samurai. It was more than a weapon. It was their soul, their honor, their right to rule. The law stripped them of that right. Tanaka Ichiro had carried his family's katana for 20 years. His father carried it before him. His grandfather before that. The blade was 200 years old. In March 1876, he wrapped it in silk. He placed it in a wooden box. He never drew it again. He became a clerk in a railway office. His son learned to read English. His grandson never saw the sword. Many swordsmiths became farmers. They forged plows instead of katanas, kitchen knives instead of wakizashi. Some samurai accepted the change. They entered the new army. They became bureaucrats. They joined corporations. They learned to operate steam engines and balance ledgers. Others refused. They saw it as betrayal, the end of their world. 1877, samurai in Satsuma province rebelled. They were led by Saigo Takamori, one of the Meiji Restoration's original leaders. He had helped destroy the shogunate. Now he opposed the government he had created. The rebels fought with swords. The government army fought with rifles and artillery. The outcome was inevitable. The samurai charged with katanas. The conscripts fired Gatling guns. Traditional armor met explosive shells. 7 months of fighting. The samurai were slaughtered. Saigo committed seppuku. The age of the warrior ended. The age of the factory worker began. The government built infrastructure everywhere. Railways connected the entire country. Telegraph lines stretched from Nagasaki to Hokkaido. Postal service replaced courier systems. A unified currency replaced clan coins. The government built model factories to teach modern production. At Tomioka Silk Mill, French engineers taught Japanese women to operate steam-powered looms. The women had never seen machines. The French had never seen workers learn so fast. The women worked barefoot on wooden floors. They watched French hands move levers. They memorized every motion. Within weeks, they no longer needed instruction. Within months, they taught other women. French supervisor Henri Brunat wrote home, "They learn in 1 month what takes European workers 6. The government sold the factories to private investors, samurai and merchants who became industrialists. They formed zaibatsu, corporate conglomerates, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, Sumitomo. These companies built shipyards, steel mills, coal mines, textile factories. They imported British machinery, copied German designs, improved both. Tokyo changed fastest. Wooden Edo became industrial Tokyo. 4,000 new factory workers arrived annually. The population passed 2 million by 1905. Honjo and Fukugawa wards on the east bank of the Sumida River became industrial centers. In 2 decades, the population more than tripled. Factory smokestacks rose above temple roofs. The air smelled of coal smoke and machine oil. The factories operated 24 hours. Women worked 12-hour shifts in textile mills, filthy dormitories, starvation wages. Daughters sent from rural villages to support their families. Copper miners worked in poisoned air. The Ashio mine killed rice paddies for miles around. Industrial waste flowed into rivers. Children coughed in the streets. Journalist Yokoyama Genosuke described the slums. Scores of children in a single row house. Their names existed only in police notebooks. Rapid growth had a price. Not everyone paid it equally. But the factories worked. Japan's exports grew. Silk became the principal export. Cotton yarn production increased 15-fold in a decade. The military modernized. The army copied Prussian organization. The Navy copied British designs. Japan built its own battleships, its own rifles, its own artillery. Shipyards at Yokosuka and Kure launched warships. Arsenals at Osaka produced ammunition. Japan no longer depended on foreign weapons. By 1904, Japan felt ready to challenge a European power. Russia had been expanding in East Asia for 300 years. They wanted warm water ports. They leased Port Arthur from China. They built the Trans-Siberian Railroad. They moved troops into Manchuria. They threatened Korea. Japan saw this as intolerable. Korea was Japan's buffer zone. If Russia controlled Korea, they controlled the gateway to Japan. February 1904. Japan attacked. No declaration of war. Torpedo boats hit Russian ships at Port Arthur. The Russo-Japanese War began. The world expected Japan to lose. Russia was vast. Russia had millions of soldiers. Russia was a white European power. How could an Asian nation defeat them? But Japan's new factories produced rifles and shells faster than Russia could ship them across Siberia. Japan's new navy was faster and better trained than Russia's Pacific Fleet. Japan's conscript army fought with modern tactics, not samurai honor. The Japanese soldier carried a rifle made in Osaka. He wore boots made in Tokyo. He fired shells made in Yokohama. Every piece of equipment was Japanese. 50 years earlier, none of it existed. Port Arthur fell. Mukden fell. The Russians retreated across Manchuria. Then came the decisive moment. May 1905, the Battle of Tsushima. The Russian Baltic Fleet had sailed 18,000 nautical miles, 7 months at sea, around Africa, across the Indian Ocean. They came to destroy Japan's navy and restore Russian pride. 48 ships, 11 battleships. They were exhausted. Their hulls were fouled. Their crews were sick. But they were still a European fleet. They still expected to win. Admiral Togo Haihachiro waited in the Tsushima Strait between Korea and Japan. His fleet was smaller, but his ships were faster. His guns were more accurate. His crews had combat experience. More importantly, his fleet had wireless telegraph. Japanese ships could coordinate movements in real time. The Russians had no equivalent technology. May 27th, early morning. Fog. A Japanese cruiser spotted the Russians. It transmitted enemy fleet sighted. Togo positioned his fleet across the Russian path, the classic naval maneuver, crossing the T. Every Japanese gun could fire. Only the lead Russian ships could respond. At 2 in the afternoon, the battle began. Japanese shells used new explosives. They detonated on impact. They started fires. They penetrated armor. The Russians used older ammunition. Many shells failed to explode. Japanese gunners used modern rangefinders, accurate to 6,000 yards. The Russians used equipment from the 1880s, accurate to 4,000 yards. The difference was measured in hits. The Japanese hit far more often. The Russian flagship Knyaz Suvorov was hit repeatedly. Fires broke out. The bridge was destroyed. Admiral Rozhestvensky was wounded. The ship lost steering. It circled helplessly until it sank. One by one, Russian battleships caught fire. Their crews abandoned ship. Some exploded. Some capsized. Some sank slowly, men jumping from the decks. By nightfall, the main battle was over, but Togo sent his torpedo boats to finish the job. Through the night, they hunted Russian survivors. Torpedoes struck in the darkness. More ships went down. May 28th. Dawn revealed the destruction. 8 Russian battleships sunk. 4 cruisers sunk. 6 destroyers sunk. 27 auxiliary ships sunk. 4,380 men killed. 5,917 captured. Japan lost 3 torpedo boats, 117 men. The Battle of Tsushima was the first decisive engagement between modern steel battleship fleets. British observers called it the greatest naval event since Trafalgar. Russia's navy was destroyed. The war was over. September 1905. American President Theodore Roosevelt mediated the Treaty of Portsmouth. Japan gained Port Arthur, the southern half of Sakhalin Island, control over Korea, recognition as the dominant power in East Asia. Japan had defeated a European empire. For the first time, a non-white nation won a modern industrial war. The world noticed. Tokyo celebrated. The factories worked faster. More railways were built. More ships launched. Japan had arrived. But the cost was visible everywhere. 150,000 combined casualties, 20,000 Chinese civilians dead. Textile workers still coughed in filthy mills. Copper miners still died in poisoned shafts. Rural families still starved in bad years. The samurai who became clerks never forgot what they had lost. The villages that sent daughters to factories never recovered. The old wooden Tokyo of temples and gardens vanished under brick and smoke. The victory fueled ambition. Japan wanted an empire, like Britain, like France, like the United States. The industrial machine needed resources: coal, iron, oil, markets for exports. 1910. The government annexed Korea. Japan's colonial expansion began. The path led to Manchuria, to China, to Pearl Harbor. By 1905, Japan had proven it could build battleships and win wars. It had not proven those were worth the price. The steam engines conquered the wooden houses. The factories replaced the temples. The conscripts defeated the samurai. Japan modernized in a single generation, from swords to battleships in 50 years. The speed was unprecedented. The trauma was deep. Tanaka Ichiro's grandson became a naval officer. He commanded a destroyer. He never knew his great-grandfather carried a katana. He never saw the sword in the wooden box. Some transformations erase their own origins. The wooden houses still stood beside the factories in 1905, but everyone knew which future had won. 50 years from Perry to Tsushima. 50 years from isolation to empire. Some choices defined centuries. The choice worked. The price remained.